Cycles of hibernation are a known universal constant. It's true, just look around. Every creature on every planet hibernates in one way, shape, or form. From the great giants of Leauria to the small minnows of Wubulin, every creature hibernates, and their cycles seem to always match up with a universal constant we have yet to truly understand. This allows the galaxy to rest and recuperate. It allows for the reshuffling of stars, planets, and asteroids. It allows for a cosmic reset before we start over. Naturally, as civilized beings, we are able to cheat the system somewhat, making sure our technologies survive each and every cycle. Sleeping through it in comfort of great bunkers, hollowed-out asteroids, or even self-repairing ships adrift in dark space. Of course, this method isn't perfect. Some losses are to be expected, but overall, we've kept our culture mostly intact for the past 200 million years. We've regrettably lost a lot along the way, but that is merely the nature of things. Entropy takes hold eventually. We can only cheat the system so much. A sleep-wake cycle generally consists of a waking period of 1,000 to 100,000 years, and a sleep cycle of anywhere from 500 to 25 million years. This is considering the most extreme of the two polar opposites, of course. A general average would be in the ballpark of 500,000 to 15 million years. This innately unreliable time frame is what prevents us from effectively making preparations that could tolerate the extreme variations in hibernative periods. But as a general rule of thumb, the shorter the cycle you wake up from, the longer the next one will be. Sometimes if you have several shorter cycles in rapid succession, you rack up deficit, resulting in an ultra-long sleep cycle. Few survive this. But our species, our civilization, perseveres. But about 100 million years ago, we started to notice something strange, an anomaly in a neighboring galaxy which we had barely explored. One of these worlds, the third world from the rather hospitable yellow sun, bore life, but not in the manner we had expected. Genetic testing revealed a distinct lack of the hibernation gene. This would imply that life on this world would eat itself out of existence in a span of a few hibernation cycles. We could do nothing for them, and so, as the lull of hibernation called for us, the scientists above this world we dubbed Ellerus, we would later know as Earth, expected the ecosystems of this world to die off once we awoke. The hibernation cycle lasted for approximately 10 million years, and what we saw was unexpected. Life hadn't just continued, it seemed to grow, prospering, diversifying. We'd logged millions of unique species prior to our hibernation, yet when we woke it didn't decrease, but instead increased. We'd expected at least some hint of decline, but what we saw proved to be the exact opposite. A decision was made to carefully observe the world until the next cycle. This phenomenon was rare, incredibly so, but not unheard of. So we would weather the storm and see how the situation developed. The next hibernation cycle lasted for yet another 10 million years, and we awoke to see much of the same. Some declines did occur, but they were never permanent. They were always a result of a distinct geological or climatological phenomena, and never the fault of malignant species overexpression. Again, this wasn't truly unheard of. We'd previously accounted for a total of 4 such instances, where non-hibernating ecosystems had survived for a total of 5 hibernation cycles. Never beyond 5, however, and with each successive cycle there's always a marked decline in biodiversity. So it was decided to wait another 3 cycles, to ascertain if a decline is noted, to determine if life on this planet coincided with our models. 65 million BC. As the 5th cycle came and went, life had remained as it always had been on this planet. Plentiful, vibrant, and constantly evolving. It was decided then that the planet was an aberration. Waiting might result in the development of an intelligent sapient species that could potentially reach the space age without the natural call of hibernation holding them back. Such a terrifying prospect was not something we wanted to deal with. So, with the confirmation that no such sapient life yet existed, a decision was made to terminate the ecosystem, on the grounds of suspected ecological malignancy. A suitable asteroid was found and targeted at the planet. And so, approximately 65 million years ago, we ended all life on Ellerus. It was struck from the registry, declared a quarantine zone, and that was that. Or so we had assumed. You see, our civilization has a way of forgetting things. As stated previously, the process of data keeping is difficult when considering the timescales we're working on. As a result, after approximately 10 or so cycles, even that knowledge was put in question as a result of the Great Cycle failure, whereby a disturbingly long cycle, one lasting 30 million years, resulted in a massive loss of most of our records prior to that point. we rediscovered Elurus, and it was certainly not dead. 150,000 BC. Approximately 152,000 years ago, we discovered a planet full of life dominated by mammalians. A strange impact crater was noted, alongside evidence of a bygone space station clearly designed by our forebears. We put two and two together, and alongside the broken remains of our records, ascertained that there might have been some great accident here. We would never deliberately destroy a viable ecosystem. We'd monitor it first to see if it was truly malicious or not. And so, without knowledge of our prior studies, or the prior decisions we took, we established yet another scientific outpost and watched. We noted the development of a few promising creatures that may have the potential for sapience. One aquatic mammalian, one avian, and one terrestrial mammalian. The former was our best bet for sapience, given its advanced communication abilities, but it remained to be seen at that point. And so we waited, as we noticed the terrestrial mammalians had indeed already discovered and had somewhat mastered fire. The race was on for sapience, as we rediscovered the planet's aberrant genetic makeup. But as the lull of hibernation loomed once more over us, we slept, and dreamed of what was to come of this world. 50,000 BC. We awoke some 52,000 years ago, and at this point it was clear who had won the race for sapiency. What we would now know as the humans, then Elurians, after the name we had given their planet, had now properly mastered not just fire, but primitive stonework and tool-making. They were still largely nomadic. Civilization hadn't sprung up, but the seeds for civilization were there. However, this wasn't the only alarming discovery we made. The genetic aberrancy we had noted was indeed correct. Yet that wasn't the end of it. What should have been a natural decline in the biodiversity of the planet from their runaway ecosystem did not happen as well. This, coupled with the emergence of a sapient species, meant that something had to be done. Yet as we understood, the circumstances may lead to their demise anyways. It wasn't in our moral conscience to just kill off sapients on this large of a scale. Plants and animals, sure, but sapients were a different matter entirely. But a line had to be drawn somewhere. So it was decided to wait once more. Wait another 3 hibernation cycles before acting on our fears. And so, after a short wake cycle, we slept once more, hoping, praying that the problem went away. 4,000 BC. We awoke approximately 7,000 years ago, and were greeted not with our prayers having been answered, but with the humans now developing into an organized, cohesive force. Beyond this, we soon realized something else that was truly bizarre. We'd logged and tagged certain humans during the previous cycle. We'd assumed the eldest we'd logged would survive to become great leaders and figures of importance in this cycle. Yet when we scanned for them, all we saw were bones and burial sites. Further carbon dating revealed that they had died barely 55 years after we had tagged them. This was unbelievable, yet it was the truth. The humans, and other creatures of this world, they had an accelerated lifespan in addition to their inability to hibernate. New theories were thrown and proposed at this point. The humans, no. All life on Elurus could be based on a whole other model of organic life we had not yet conceived of. For instead of permanent cell regeneration and hibernation limiting that expansion, this system was self-limiting in a far crueler and sadistic fashion. It killed them en masse. Not by the millennia, or even by the century, but by the decade. It was a horrific world of death. A death world, one could say. And it disturbed us to our very core. Centuries of analysis were made in order to verify this. The homeworld and central governments of our species, along with many others, simply refused to verify these claims. How could they, when all the evidence across every other world pointed against this conclusion? There was no other system or mechanism for life. There was no other model. How could a new model emerge after 200 million years? Our elders flat out refused it, and so the motion was to continue observing Elurus. They would not listen to us, the scientific revisionists, to rewrite basic biology and ecology. But by that same logic, they thankfully would not listen to the radical purifiers, who believed our conclusions, but derived from it a genocidal impetus to end all life on Elurus on the grounds of unprecedented ecological malignancy. Both of our parties were silenced, for now. As the millennium drew to a close, what the next cycle had in store for us would make or break the very fabric of our civilization. 2379 AD. We awoke 1,000 years ago to see humanity had developed far beyond our wildest expectations. What had been a species hauling stones, constructing small huts when we slept, now held a burgeoning interstellar empire under its vice grip. It was fortunate that our observation posts had been removed from Earth at the end of our previous cycle, under direct orders from the Elders. For if we had still been in orbit, I shudder at the thought of what might have occurred. But all was not well back home. For the revelation of humanity's breaching of not just its world's confines, but that of its solar systems, coupled with its rough mastery of warp travel, was beyond comprehension to the likes of the general public. The Council of Elders, wise beyond their years, was likewise mystified. We once more proposed our theory. We even proposed initiating first contact, since they were now a spacefaring civilization, warp-capable to boot. But the Elders denied us. When pressed on the matter of what was the next step forward, they conferred deliberation. But with each passing moment of indecision, the power of the radical purifiers only grew. In addition to all of this, the fact that our previous sleep cycles had been in the dangerous deficit range meant that the next cycle would be another short one, or an extended cycle. With humanity's threat looming around the corner, another extended cycle would mean assured extinction. At their rate of expansion, even a short hibernation cycle might see them crossing the galactic void and expanding into our territories. What's more, the innate fear from dying in a hyper-long cycle intensified the human paranoia, because an extended cycle is anything but pleasant. It meant assured death for at least 2 in 5 Venerians. It meant the assured destruction of at least half, if not more, of our archives and records. It meant the dead wakening of another 1 in 5 Venerians. A horrible condition where you wake in a body that has long since petrified. You are trapped as a mind without form, eyes incapable of even opening as the last of your fat reserves are drained to fuel your ever-terrified mind, extending its slow, grueling death. What's worse, since the life signs on most of the dead woken are barely discernible from the actual dead, most are left as they are in the confusion of the immediate post-awakening. Only 2 in 5 remains. And from there, the long road to rebuilding ensures millennia of pain and suffering. This fear fueled support for the radical purifiers. Support for our ranks grew as well, but given we had neither a plan of action and a firm policy base, we were pushed aside. Humanity's very presence, it would seem, was a sickness to our continued peace. Our careful peace, sustained for 200 million years, finally broke under this pressure by the detonation of a single bomb in the Elders' chambers. Most of them perished. The few that survived struggled to adapt quick enough to the developing situation, but still managed to pull through. The ensuing Venerian Civil War had led to the deaths of countless billions and the destruction of nearly the entirety of our industrial capacity. It lasted for a total of 1,000 years. By the end of it, we were so woefully underprepared. I don't know what happened to the rest of my kin, but I retreated into my family's personal hibernation asteroid. It had served us well for the past 92 million years. Yet I knew that a hypersleep of this magnitude meant I could expect little help from the outside when I awoke, if any was coming at all. 3392 AD. Then came the call of hibernation, and it felt heavy and foggy. A hypersleep was assured. So I lay, alone in my hibernation chamber, as I knew not what was to come. I could not move, I could barely breathe. The coming of hibernation was certain. But I had made no preparations. Indeed, my entire civilization has made little in the way of preparations. The war had consumed us all, and we had nothing to show for the next cycle. And on this day, as I finished the summation of all accounts of the human incident, this date shall henceforth be known as year 0. Whatever comes next, I do not know. As my eyes began to close, my heart accepting the fate we doomed ourselves to, I heard a sudden clang, followed by another, another, and a successive series of depressurization seals being released before a flurry of footsteps came marching through. My half-lidded eyes could do nothing as I knew this was it. Whatever it was, be it the purists' automated armies or the human forces, I was doomed either way. "Secure the perimeter, make sure we got the right chamber." "Yes, sir." I heard voices, human voices. It was over. I forced myself to stay awake, as I saw a suited human approaching, wearing what seemed to be a cross between light armor and a dress uniform. I felt its hand touching my own as I attempted to pull away, but neither had the strength nor the mental fortitude to do so. Hey, don't be afraid, we come in peace." God damn, I knew he'd fucking say it. $10, Mitchell. What? Whatever trickery, just let it be done. I managed out. No tricks, no games, nothing. Look, we don't have much time, so I'll get right to it. We understand what you're going through, and we want to help. Help? Listen, there's not a lot of time, so I'll keep this short. We know why you're this way. We know why the whole fucking galactic cluster is this way. We know who did this, and we're out to get them. But until then, you sit tight, all right? My mind had begun to wander at this point, meandering between the waking and the sleeping world. We'll watch over you while you sleep. You don't have to be afraid anymore. You don't have to fear whether or not you get to wake up. You don't have to fear losing anything. Because humanity will be here, keeping watch. We'll be here, no matter how long it takes. I felt his hand squeezing mine as I drifted off into a dreamless slumber. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Everything I used is in the description below. If there's a story you'd like to hear narrated, let me know and I'll reach out to the author and see if we can make that happen. Thanks again. It's a scary world out there, but remember to be brave and look up, to seek the stars.